Hello and welcome to NAFDAC and Your Health, where we bring you all the important information you need to know about NAFDAC. The agency is saddled with the responsibility of safeguarding our health by ensuring that the foods, drugs, cosmetics, and medical equipment made available to us are safe and wholesome. My name is Tosin Adebayo. On this edition of the program, we join mothers and indeed the entire globe in marking the World Breastfeeding Week 2022, themed Step Up for Breastfeeding, Educate and Support. The importance of breastfeeding, especially in the first 6 months of a newborn's life, cannot be overemphasized, and NAFDAC continues to emphasize this. Research has shown that breast milk contains all of the essential nutrients that babies need to grow properly and remain healthy. Therefore, nursing mothers need to adequately and exclusively breastfeed their babies in the first 6 months of birth.
God gave women breast and milk, and they're supposed to be for children. We think that it's our own mammary glands or breasts are supposed to be for cosmetics. No. If you have children, they're supposed to be used to breastfeed because they have natural products that come out from the milk that are supposed to start building the immunity for life for the children. Once the immunity is set up from breastfeeding, the probability of having very serious illness is reduced. That doesn't mean that child will not be ill, but at least the infections that will ordinarily kill a child, or become fatal will be much reduced. That probability will be reduced. A child is supposed to be breastfed fully for 6 months. But reality is sometimes the woman goes back to work. How do you then breastfeed fully? There are now cheaper pump to pump the breast milk and put it in bottles and take it to the daycare. So, in fact, there are organizations that are into making sure that the pump is affordable. The best thing is to breastfeed for 6 months. And then after that, it can be mixed with regulated products, baby formulas, for 2 years. So breastfeeding should be for about 2 years. But 6 months, extremely important. If the woman has a problem, medically, then that is an exception, not the rule.
Nursing mothers play a vital role in establishing the foundation for healthy growth and development of their children and therefore deserve maximum care and attention.
Nursing mothers are supposed to be treated specially. They are supposed to be treated specially because they are setting the baby up for healthy living or healthy adulthood. In some societies, you have nurses or social workers that actually come to the house to show the nursing mother how to breastfeed, how not to be discouraged if the milk is not coming out. But unfortunately, we don't have that here. However, the people surrounding the mothers, mother-in-law, sisters, whatever, should know themselves that they need to encourage the young or the new mother to breastfeed. NAFDAC goes out to encourage, to do community awareness, enlightening discussions in terms of breastfeeding, encouraging women to make sure that they breastfeed for 6 months. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes the baby may bite on the breast and then it's difficult to breastfeed. Use the other one, So it is a little difficult when it has led to a compromised health issue. But it is the encouragement from those that surround the woman that, for example, the first few days the milk may not come out very well. But you keep drinking and getting the baby to breastfeed because even more, the breastfeeding act itself or process brings the milk out. Again, women have to be supported, because if you don't eat well, you may not be able to get enough milk. So women have to be supported during breastfeeding, or as soon as they have their babies. They should eat well. It's not like rationing food for the woman, or rationing drinks, beverages, even milk, or water even. So it is important that the woman in herself should be the focus. A woman cannot be selling guguru all over town without drinking enough water. The milk will not flow very well. So the woman is very, very important. That's the manufacturing site, if I want to use that word. For mothers, make sure that you breastfeed, drink a lot of fluid, a lot of water, a lot of orange juice, or a lot of oranges. You don't have to go and buy the juice. Just buy oranges and fresh food, fresh fruit rather, because you are setting your child up for good, healthy adulthood. So it is just encouraging the nursing mother, and for the nursing mother to know that, it's not going to start flowing, from the first day, but keep at it, and not just get tuned out and opt for the formula right from the word go. No.
The 2022 World Breastfeeding Week is a call to action to support mothers in every way in order to instill a culture of exclusive breastfeeding all over the world.
So the key message of this year's campaign, this year's World Breastfeeding Week, is clearly captured in the theme, Step Up for Breastfeeding, Educate and Support. This year, the World Breastfeeding Week campaign focuses on strengthening the capacity of the various actors that have to protect, to promote, and support breastfeeding across different levels of society. So we're talking about the level of the individual, families, organizations, communities, and countries. So the celebration this year also highlights what is called the warm chain of support for breastfeeding, which covers the different actors in the continuum of care in the first 1,000 days of a child's life. That is from pregnancy to the child's second birthday. So here we're talking about antenatal care, delivery and postpartum care, and care beyond 6 weeks. The actors across this continuum of care include family members, community health workers, doctors, lactation consultants, midwives, the nurses, also the nutritionists and dietitians, the obstetrician and the gynecologist, and also, yes, the pediatrician, even the employer, and of course, advocates and the policymaker. And this list is by no means exhaustive. So this means that there is a role for everyone to play in supporting, protecting, and promoting breastfeeding. So the warm chain strives to link these various actors through collaboration and coordination of efforts at all levels to essentially to provide the necessary supports to provide this continuum of care running right through pregnancy, that's conception, to 2 years and beyond to assure optimal breastfeeding. So with this, mothers are empowered with a great experience, a satisfying and effective breastfeeding experience. So the key message is that a warm chain of support will help build an enabling environment for breastfeeding and protecting breastfeeding from industry influence. So I'd say the thrust of the 2022 World Breastfeeding Week celebration is the education of all actors and support for breastfeeding from all actors. This means, support mothers to optimally breastfeed their babies. We're all called to step up for breastfeeding. So encourage men to support their spouses and community members to practice optimal breastfeeding in their families, in their communities. Also encourage other close family members This would also include the in-laws and the powerful grandmothers to support women to breastfeed, to educate and mobilize support, in the workplaces to create safe spaces where mothers can breastfeed their babies, their children optimally. And essentially, yes, that's the message for this year's World Breastfeeding Week.
NAFDAC carries out several regulatory activities to ensure that Nigeria meets its obligation to the International Breastfeeding Code, but more importantly, support and educate all stakeholders.
Essentially, what NAFDAC would do to educate and support is to ensure that we're carrying out sensitization and awareness activities. We're carrying out monitoring activities. And what we're doing here today, participating in the World Breastfeeding Week activity, um, sending out the message via our media channels is one of the activities. We also leverage on strong collaboration with our development partners to propagate the message of the breast milk substitute code. And using this means we have developed several advocacy tools on breastfeeding and the code on the marketing of breast milk substitutes for various groups. So we have advocacy tools, briefs for legislators and policymakers, for community leaders, for health professionals, mothers, families, and the media. And in terms of support, this is all part of the support, supporting women to be able to breastfeed. We spoke about having safe places where women can breastfeed. So even in the workplaces, people are encouraged to set up these spaces where women, nursing mothers, can breastfeed their babies while at work. So yeah, these are some of the things that we do.
NAFDAC and your health will be right back. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, you're watching NAFDAC and your health. The International Breastfeeding Code was designed and developed to ensure that nursing mothers are not only enlightened on the critical value of exclusive breastfeeding, but also protected from the distractions of substitutes producers.
Breast milk substitutes are any food that is marketed or is otherwise represented as a partial or total replacement for breast milk, whether or not it is suitable for that purpose. And we know that the benefits of breast milk to the healthy growth and development of infants and young children are very well established. And we certainly do not want to deliberately or simply out of not being well informed deprive our infants of these benefits. So in recognition of the fact that improper feeding practices, and this would include unnecessary and improper use of breast milk substitutes, that these improper feeding practices bring about infant malnutrition, morbidity, and death, mortality. The World Health Assembly at its 34th session in 1981 adopted the International Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes as a minimum requirement to protect and promote breastfeeding. Now, Nigeria is signatory to that code, as we were one of the many countries that voted for its adoption in 1981. So essentially, this meant that we had obliged to implement the provisions of this code in its entirety as minimum requirements for code implementation through appropriate national measures. And this is where NAFDAC comes in. So NAFDAC is designated by law, the decree number 22 of 1999, which is an amendment to the Marketing Breast Milk Substitutes Act, which is the CAP M5, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004. So we are designated as the regulatory agency to implement, to monitor, and enforce the code in Nigeria. Remember, I said that at code adoption in 1981, countries were required to develop national measures for implementation of the code in their respective countries. So Nigeria did this by putting in place the acts and national regulations. So, in regulating breast milk substitutes, we have our national regulations. It's called the Marketing of Infant and Young Children Food and Other Designated Products Registration, Sales, etc. regulations in Nigeria. So, what we do is to monitor and enforce compliance with the national regulations and apply stipulated sanctions for violations as contained in these regulations. So, implementation, monitoring, and enforcement of the breast milk substitute code and national regulations is an important mechanism to contribute towards our efforts aimed at protecting and promoting breastfeeding by checking the aggressive and yes, sometimes unethical marketing practices of breast milk substitutes manufacturers and marketers, which are usually targeted at mothers, their families, and health workers. So, and in brief, just a brief summary of the code provisions. It's all about not advertising or promoting breast milk substitutes to mothers, to health workers, no promotion and advertising in health facilities, no free samples given to mothers, and also no gifts, no personal samples, and indeed no sponsorships to health workers, which could create conflicts of interest. So generally, no aggressive or even subtle marketing that could dissuade mothers from making a choice for optimal breastfeeding practices due to commercial pressure. So these are the aspects that we monitor. And our monitoring activities cut across several domains. So we go out into the health facilities, we look out for posters, for gift items, branded equipment, advert materials, and the like. One of the domains is also the health workers. These are very important. The pregnant women, mothers, retail outlets, and yes, the media. And where we find violations, we sanction. Note that monitoring is not only about identifying violations, but also about identifying strengths and indeed for continuous improvement for implementation of the code in Nigeria.
On the field, the agency continues to tackle and checkmate advertisers and promoters of breast milk substitutes in its bid to enforce the code.
It will amaze you that you will see some materials, informational materials, with good display of breastfeeding mothers, but inside the document, the content of the document has a different information with respect to promotion of breast milk substitutes. So, interventions to bridge this gap, of which one of them is for us to curtail the ways this product should be marketed. Breast milk the substitutes is actually a legitimate product, but the issue is with the way it is actually marketed and promoted. Doctors, there are very good channels of communication of those products. The mothers see them as brand loyalty. Once they see these products in doctors' rooms, on posters, it's a form of endorsement. We know breast milk is a gold standard. It contains a lot of anti-infective properties. It's rich with bioactive compounds. Some of them which are yet to be found, oligosaccharides, prebiotics and probiotics, a lot of long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are good for brain development. So you see, they tend to copy some of those things into their product. Some of those ingredients are contained, some of them are not contained. So some of those things are the labeling lapses that are found in some food products. I will not forget that some children that actually need these products. So that is why we ensure to make sure that the standard of that product is of good quality. It is actually carried out in our lab to ascertain the key quality parameters of those products, so that for children that may need it, it's safe for them and is appropriate for their intended use.
Manufacturers and marketers of infant foods are encouraged to do their due diligence in complying strictly with the breast milk substitutes code.
Our advice to marketers and of infant food manufacturers is compliance with the Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes. They should, some of them that don't have the regulation should ensure that they have a copy of the regulations. They obtain it from NAFDAC. They should read the code very well to understand the code, what it covers. We have subsequent World Head Assembly resolutions. And these resolutions comes out almost like every year. And the aim is to strengthen the provisions of the code. Whatever any action infant food manufacturers want to take, the aim is to ensure that breast milk feeding is the key. And that is the aim of those provisions of the code as contained in our national regulations.
Although breast milk substitutes are not illegal or injurious to a baby's health, the benefits of a mother's breast milk outweighs by no mean measure the convenience that baby formula provides. So, mothers need to be aware and make the best decisions for themselves and their babies.
What mothers should look out for. With the mothers, and especially mothers who have given birth with a skilled birth attendants, it's important that the health workers, they understand the code and the provisions very well. Because, the code does not actually, it doesn't say that breast milk substitutes are not legitimate products. They are legitimate products and they should be available when and only if they are needed. It's the fact that some mothers may choose not to breastfeed, but even if they choose not to breastfeed their infants, let it be based on adequate information. Let it be that this mother has not been subjected to undue commercial pressures and that she's making this choice by herself and knowing fully well the benefits of breastfeeding. So I think these are the critical things. These benefits of breastfeeding need to be well expressed and well understood by mothers. And who does this? The health worker. There's this thing about influence. We respect very much our health workers, our doctors, and people who generally give us medical advice. So if these people understand that it is important for women to breastfeed their babies, and they do understand this, so it's not about saying they do not understand, but the code says that these breast milk substitutes should not be marketed in such a way as to dissuade a woman who would ordinarily have breastfed her baby optimally to make a choice for breast milk substitutes instead. And in saying this, we know that it's not only through, it's not just because of aggressive marketing that a woman may not make a choice for breastfeeding. There are other things that contribute. So this is an ecosystem. And so this is one of the things that the code targets, singles out aggressive marketing, because it has been proven that mothers who are exposed to, women who are exposed to aggressive marketing may make a choice for breast milk substitutes instead of breastfeeding their babies. And we all stand to gain from it. The entire country stands to gain from it.
And that's our package for today. Please join us same time, same station next week for a fresh edition. In the meantime, if you have comments, complaints, or you want to report activities of fake drugs or adulterated food products peddlers, our doors are always open. You can reach NAFDAC via toll-free numbers. For inquiries, call 0700 162 3322. For complaints, call 0800 162 3322. You may also email NAFDAC at nafdac.gov.ng. If you have complaints about any form of misconduct, you can reach the Reforms Unit via email, reforms@nafdac.gov.ng, or call the Reforms hotlines on 0909 763 0506 or 0909 763 0507. NAFDAC, customer focused, agency minded. Importing, producing, distributing and selling fake drugs and cosmetics, adulterated food, and so on are criminal activities that destroy lives. Join the fight against these heinous crimes by reporting any suspicious activity in your area to NAFDAC. Let's join hands to safeguard the health of our nation. See you next week. Stay safe.